Good morning, Internet Netians, web crawlers. Good morning, guys. It's your Monday. Welcome to Venture Daily, your number one fastest growing daily show in venture media. And you're hanging out with me. Peter Saddington. Today I want to talk with you guys about anxiety. I know, it's Monday, and you probably don't want to hear about anxiety early this morning, but to be quite frank, this is something that I struggled with a little bit last week and over the weekend, and there was an article talking about how to reduce anxiety, and you know what? This is a podcast, this is a show for venture capitalists, founders, and the entrepreneur-curious, people who want to make something of themselves, self-learners. So, do we all struggle with anxiety from time to time? Do we all struggle with expectations? Absolutely. And so I want to go over this. It's a great article from the Harvard Business Review, and I just wanted to set your mind at ease because we all struggle with anxiety from time to time. So we're going to be talking about this article and going to some commentary about anxiety that traps us and how we can break free. Then we're going to go into venture deals for today. You guys know we always love doing venture deals. And then I'm going to talk with you guys on the final word. Let's just jump right in here. Here we go. This is from HBR and Sabina Nawaz. She says how anxiety traps us and how we can break free. I hope this is a blessing to you guys on this Monday. I love just being a part of your day. Zulfi, a coaching client of mine, is the envy of many of his peers. As the general manager of a large, successful business, his work is one of the CEO's core priorities. He does good work and is well loved by his team. But Zulfi has a secret. He suffers from anxiety. It keeps him up all night, impacts his health, and takes a lot of time and energy for him to manage. When people praise Zulfi's poise during a major customer presentation, they're unaware that he survived the meeting by taking anti-anxiety medication. Zulfi handles two jobs each day, the one outlined in his job description and the other managing his anxiety. I hope that none of you guys out there are like this example here, Zulfi, who have two jobs, managing your regular job and managing your anxiety as well. I think most of us, to be quite honest, I'm mostly just pulling from my own experience here, but I think most of us struggle with anxiety from time to time. We have built up, pent up expectations of how things should go, and when things don't go the way that we want, it can create anxiety, right? The unknowns of life. She goes on to say is that it's normal to occasionally experience anxiety, such as when we're faced with a high-stakes meeting, a stressed-out boss, or a conflict with a colleague. But according to the National Institute of Mental Health, in any given year, 19% of U.S. adults are suffering from anxiety disorder, and 31% will deal with the disorder at least once in their lifetime. And I will tell you, I probably have been one of the 31% who have already dealt with an anxiety disorder. I don't know if I still have it. Maybe I still have this issue. Mental health experts postulate that when anxious, we tend to get trapped in false or limited ways of thinking. These thought patterns create a debilitating negative spiral that can take over our lives by convincing us of impending doom and further exacerbating our sense of helplessness. Anxiety Canada, a website devoted to supporting people who suffer from anxiety, lists a number of these traps and thought patterns. Here are the ones my clients, usually senior executives, most commonly experience and the kinds of things that they say when in the grip of a specific trap. Number one is catastrophizing. Right. Thinking everything is a catastrophe. Imagining the worst possible outcome. Quote, I will get fired if the presentation has any glitches. Number two, mind reading. Imagining what others are thinking. I know he doesn't like working with me because he thinks I'm dumb. Number three, fortune telling. Imagine what the future holds, but without data. Now, I will go even farther here and say that if you ever have anxiety around the future, I know what I'm about to say probably isn't that helpful, but if you ever have anxiety over the future, which I sometimes have, if I'm honest, the answer is stop worrying about it, because the future hasn't come yet, and just be present in today. That's the short answer. Number 4, black and white thinking, considering only 2 possible outcomes. I'll either hit a home run or get fired. Yeah, not the right thinking. There's always more than 2 options. And overgeneralizing is number 5, painting all situations with a generalized outcome. Quote, I presented to the CEO last year. It didn't go well. I never get things right or always fail when it comes to executive audiences. If one or more of these thinking traps has a hold on you, try these strategies I've used with my coaching clients to overcome them. And actually, what's really, really interesting is some of these patterns that the author outlines here are exactly the same patterns that I've used as a coach to executives in the past as well. So these actually really work. Try these strategies I've used with my coaching clients. While I'm not a psychologist or a medical professional, I do have experience helping my clients adjust their behaviors, change the way they think, and increase their effectiveness at work. These suggestions do not replace the need to consult mental health professionals for possible diagnosis and treatment of anxiety, but they can help you break your negative thought patterns, gain control over your anxiety, and allow you to listen to the chatter that really matters in your daily work. The first thing to think about whenever your guys are hit with anxiety is pause the pattern. Pause the pattern. Anxiety is often preceded by physical symptoms. Learn to recognize your physical cues of an impending attack, a churning stomach, sweaty palms, or flaring nostrils. These reactions are part of the amygdala hijack, causing your body to react with a fight or flight response instead of operating from your thinking brain. When you notice these reactions, consciously change your activities. Engage the thinking part of your brain, for instance, by doing math, but not something as simple as 2 + 2. Try something that would challenge you enough to divert your brain away from your stressor. I have found that this can sometimes work. One of the problems is that when we're left alone, keyword alone, is that we tend to go over and over and over the scenario, the stimulation, the event, the circumstance in our minds. And so what I have found can help is calling a friend, texting someone, engaging yourself in thinking activities outside yourself. So pausing the pattern is great, doing some math is great, but if you have a friend, text them. Or sometimes maybe just going to social media and swiping up. Swiping left or swiping right might help as well. It gets your mind off the nonsense. Number 2 is name the trap. Name the trap. Give your pattern a name. Whether it's one of those traps listed above or something you've come up with yourself, naming converts the vague threat to something concrete. You regain power by realizing you encountered it before and survived, and can fine-tune your mitigation strategy based on the specific trap that's ensnared you. Sophie, for instance, had a better sense of the steps to take once he's named his patterns and could distinguish between catastrophizing, mind reading, and fortune-telling. Number 3 is separate FUD from fact. Separate FUD from fact. So if you don't know what FUD is, it's fears, uncertainties, and doubts. Create a 2-column list. On one side, list all your fears, uncertainties, and doubts, or FUD. The second column is for verified facts. Being able to compare the two can quell your fears and bring you back to reality. And that really, my friends, that really is the key, is that when you're all in your brain, you're not in reality. Reality is the here and now, and what's going on now. And frankly, almost nothing is ever happening most of the time. It might seem weird for me to say it this way, but pretty much nothing is happening all the time. I mean, think about me right now. I'm presenting to you guys this article, I'm reading, but in my life, if I'm sitting here right now, nothing's really happening. Like if I just sit here, I'm not reading, I'm just talking to you. Yeah, the camera's recording and the video is recording, but nothing's really happening. And all the stuff, especially when we're talking about fear, uncertainty, and doubt, FUD, it's all this stuff that's out there. Where is it? Well, it's not here. It's not here right now. It's only in my brain. For example, when Zolfi indulged in a mix of fortune-telling and catastrophizing, he told himself, our key strategy is going to fail and will soon be out of business because our competitor moves faster and our subsidiaries are located in places of political turmoil. Entries in his FUD column included: our competitor will out-innovate us and be faster to market, geopolitical events will spin out of control, and we'll have a great recession, and our best employees will burn out. Entries in his facts column included: we beat the competition to market the last 3 times, only one of our 16 subsidiaries is in a politically unstable situation. Large economic indices are stable, and employee attrition is at an all-time low. Seeing the facts next to his fears helped Zulfi tone down his concerns. If you find that your FUD column to be much larger than the facts, get others involved. Reach out to someone you trust and ask them for their point of view. They might also be able to point to some realistic facts to offset your anxieties. Number 4 is to tell more stories. Tell more stories. We make assumptions, and I'll tell you guys, the assumptions, they really are a progress killer in so many ways. Assumptions, you know how it is, right? If you assume, you only make an ass out of you and me. That's what assumptions are all about. Actually, assumptions are one of the biggest constraints to any type of software development project. Or it can be one of the biggest constraints. And assumptions in anything can get you in a lot of trouble. Don't assume that you know, because you don't, guys, especially if you're a founder or you're entrepreneur-curious individual. I like that, guys. I made up that moniker, the entrepreneur-curious. If you're curious and entrepreneur, I know. No. Sad violin, guys. Sad violin. Tell more stories, guys. Tell more stories. Storytelling helps us get through life more efficiently, but it can also be limiting. When we're anxious, we tend to not only to believe our own stories, we believe the most extreme and negative forms of them. Instead of curbing this reflexive habit, indulge it. Compose 3 separate circles or stories and ensure that they're very different from each other. For example, when a client's manager asked him to increase his technical depth, the initial assumption he made, in other words, the story he had made up for himself, was that his manager was dissatisfied with his performance. When I pushed him further, he developed 2 companion stories. My manager wants me to showcase my technical depth further to have an even bigger impact on the group, and my manager wants my skills to be more easily transferable, so as I can become more senior and I have more places in the company where I can go and move into my next role. Expanding the stories you tell yourself about a specific situation shows you there are multiple possibilities, many of them more positive than your initial hypothesis. And I would go even farther here. When it comes to you creating assumptions and stories in your mind about why something went the way it went, I'll be honest with you, at the end of the day, you'll never know why things went the way they went. You'll never know why that person chose differently than what they said. You'll never know why that person never showed up when they said they would. You'll never know why they didn't confirm what they said they were going to confirm or do, and they didn't do it. You'll never know. You'll never, ever truly know. And so don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And I know it's hard, but sometimes we need to be reminded that most of the suffering, and I'm going to talk about this in the final word at the end of today's show, about an example that happened just today and that I want to talk with you guys about. The last one is walk your talk. Ask yourself what you'd advise others to do. When my clients are anxious, I ask them to counsel what they would give a friend or team member in a similar situation. People who felt clueless a moment before are immediately able to provide sound guidance. If you find yourself saying, I feel stuck, I don't know what to do, or there's no way out, ask yourself, if a colleague came to me with this type of predicament, what would I tell them? This pause allows you to become more objective and loosen the thinking trap that has you in its hold. While all of these strategies can help in the moment when you're panicked, plans are hard to remember, much less execute. Write these tactics down and take them to your high-risk meetings. When you notice that familiar change in your heart rate or dryness in your throat, glance at your note and try one of these strategies to calm yourself. After 10 months of following these strategies, Zulfi started to notice changes. His anxiety attacks were less frequent, his self-talk changed from self-criticism to self-compassion, and he had more energy to focus on his day job. It's a human experience to experience fear, self-doubt, and confusion. In the right dose, these feelings can be helpful. They keep us vigilant, engaged, and productive. But when anxieties overburden our brains and undermine performance, it's time to consciously choose the strategies that put us in charge of our internal dialogue and tune in to the chatter that really matters. I completely agree 100% with this article. What a great article. Thanks so much, Sabina Nawaz from HBR, for writing this, and I hope it was beneficial and a blessing to you guys today. One of the things that always is fascinating to me whenever I'm hit with anxiety is I immediately go to the narrative. What are the scenarios? What are the reasons why I'm anxious? Is it because of an expected outcome that I want? Am I putting too many eggs emotionally in one basket for this outcome? Or should I just accept the fact that there are many different things that could happen, and I just need to do my best in that moment every time to be present in the moment, accept it. I am. Here's another idea. Especially if some of you guys struggle with imposter syndrome, which essentially is the feeling like you don't deserve to be in the position you are in, or the feeling like you don't have the right skills to be where you are. Whenever that hits, accept the fact that you are professional. You are good at your work. You are whole. Consider that, guys. Consider that. Let me know your comments below. Let me know. Reply in the newsletter, or let me know your comments below if you've struggled with anxiety before and the ways that you overcome it. True startup story, guys. You got it. Your company just got seed round financed. Congratulations. You're going to the moon. But now you have to scale. You found great talent out in California, New York, Georgia, and even Eastern Europe. So what communications platform will you be using to ensure your international team is always aligned? Well, the answer is easy. Slack.com for Teams. We've used Slack for all of our previous startups, and they've supported us in tremendous ways. And we want to give them a thanks today for supporting vchunting.com. Did you also know that Slack is a great tool for personal use? Yeah, I use my own personal Slack channel to drop in documents, notes, to-dos, and follow-ups to ensure that my workflow throughout the day is right on course. I promise you, if you try out slack.com for personal use, you'll end up using it for your team as well. Go to slack.com to check it out. Welcome back to Venture Daily with me, Peter Saddington, your number one fastest growing daily show in venture media. We usually cover our venture deals for today. However, I didn't do them. I didn't do them, guys. I forgot. Is what it is. I thought I was going to do it. I thought I had done it. I looked it up here, but clearly I hadn't done it. So guess what, guys? Is what it is. Is what it is. Let's go on. Let's go into our last segment here. And really, it's the final word here. We'll keep this one relatively short and sweet today on your Monday, guys. But the reason why that this anxiety from Sabina Nawaz, how anxiety traps us and how we can break free, was just perfectly timed. Now, it was published on January 2nd, so it's not old. It's not old. It's fresh off the boat, a couple days. But it hit me particularly. It hit me strongly today, and the reason is simple. Today I woke up and I had 3 meetings, and actually this is probably worth talking about, because one of the things that I want to improve here in this world is venture capital. We want to level up venture capitalists. We want to level up venture capitalists. We want to level up what they're doing, their game. We want to help them help founders and entrepreneurs better. And one of the things that I found, maybe I don't want this to become a complaining session, but one of the things that I found when it comes to venture capitalists is they just don't care about your time, especially if you're a founder. And I'll give you an example today. Today I was supposed to have 3 meetings with 3 different VCs, 3 different venture capitalists, one at 10 o'clock, one at 12 o'clock, and one at 2 o'clock. I was supposed to have 3 today. Yesterday, 2 of them canceled. And this morning at 6:48 in the morning, just before 7, my 3rd canceled. And so I had all 3 of my meetings, which, if you guys know me, I prep for an hour each. So yes, this past weekend, I prepped for several hours for these meetings so that I could be effective so that I could be on my game, so I had all the knowledge and all the information at my disposal, so I could effectively service them and make them look great, have great conversations, etc., etc., etc. So I had three meetings with three separate venture capitalists, three separate VCs today, and they all canceled within a 24-hour period. Now, this has been a common, I tweeted about it earlier, but this has been a common pattern in VCs. And it's been my experience. It's been my experience that VCs just don't value founders' time the way that I think they should. Founders are the only way that venture capitalists can make money long term. Founders have to have great ideas. Entrepreneurs have to have great ideas. They have to be able to convince or pitch or reveal or show or validate to venture capitalists that they're worth giving money to. The reason they're worth giving money to is because the venture capitalists believe that the founder has enough momentum, enough passion, enough perseverance, enough grit, or a scalable idea to make the investment worth it so they can make money back. One would think that considering that the input mechanism to the success of a venture capitalist is the founder, that the venture capitalist would consider the founder's time more important than the venture capitalist's time. And the reason is because a venture capitalist doesn't actually make any money unless the founder works his ass off. And so I found this dynamic to be relatively, well, it's an interesting dynamic, number one, because the VC in many cases, and I've talked about this with interviewees on the VC hunting segment of our show, is that the VCs hold the power, or at least they think they hold the power because they have the money. The reality is they don't actually have that much power because what the venture capitalists actually have has been commoditized. It's money. And so the founders can find money anywhere. And so it really is a disservice to the fund. It really is a disservice to the venture capitalist. It really is a disservice to their marketing. It's a disservice to their brand when they cancel on a founder last minute. Now, here's the point. The point is I woke up and I went through my routine, but I did end up checking my email earlier than usual, and I saw that my third, because yesterday 2 of the VCs canceled. And today, yes, my third canceled as well. So all the meetings I was ready for, all of the meetings that I'd prepared for, they all canceled today. And so you know what I did? You know what I did early this morning? I grabbed my daughter and I said, let's go on a morning date. It was the best. So I went on a morning date with my daughter, something that I do every month, or at least try to do every month. So far, I've been relatively successful every month of going on a date with my daughter. And we took out the Rubicon, we took out the Jeep, we went to Starbucks, had a great conversation. What is really interesting is that last night she had trouble sleeping. And so one of the conversations that we were having over coffee is we were talking about, I was asking her, why did you have trouble sleeping? And her answer was so fascinating. Her answer to me of why she couldn't sleep is she was thinking about why she couldn't sleep. Or she said that she's worried about sleeping. Which if you think, to me, in my logical brain, in my scientific brain, right, my response, probably not really that helpful, but my response to her, I was like, for you to worry about sleeping is like you worrying about breathing. And she looked at me and she was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. And I was like, exactly. There's no need ever for you to worry about sleeping. You just close your nuns. You just close your nuns, close your eyes, and go to sleep. And one of the things that we talked about is that and this is partly I'm to blame here, is that she thinks too much. She thinks too much. But she got it from her appa. She got it from me. I think too much. I'm a thinker, and that's what I do. And so one of the conversations we had this morning at Starbucks was talking about Stoicism. Now, we didn't use these words, but I told her, like, most things you can't control in life. It's not worth worrying about. And I used an example with her, and we made up some names here. I said, the example I gave her, I said, let's say that you're out in the playground, and you get hit with a ball. and you think it's Travis. That was the name that we used. You think it's Travis. And you said, Travis, why'd you hit me with the ball? And he didn't respond. And I told her, I said, well, you might think about it's unfair. Why did Travis do that? Why did he do it? I don't know if he did it, but it's frustrating me. And I told her, you go into your next class and you're still thinking about Travis. And I asked her, I said, what do you think Travis is thinking about? And she said, I don't know. Probably class. And I said, exactly. He's not thinking about you. He's not thinking about you. He's not thinking about the ball. Only you are. And I told her, most of all the pain and suffering, guys, I hope you, for all you venture capitalists and founders who deal with anxiety with the work that you do, and the pro-curious, when it comes to anxiety, all the suffering, please listen in, guys. All the suffering is in here. It's all in here. All the suffering is in your mind. And so today, practicing what I'm preaching, I could be frustrated with the behavior pattern that I have seen in these 3 VCs, and I've seen for over a decade now of venture capitalists. I could worry about it. I could say, you know what, y'all messed up my day. Yeah, I prepared for all 3 of these meetings and all 3 of you canceled. Why? Nope. Not going to worry about it. I will never know why. And frankly, it's none of my concern. My concern is to put in a good day's worth of work every day, to do my best every day, to show up every day, and to not quit. There's always stuff to be done. There's always things to do. One of the best ways that I move away from anxiety is I get back to work. That's it. Get back to work. Put your hands to the grind. That way, at least you know that if something doesn't go right or something doesn't go the way that you want, you're at least going back to working and investing in yourself, which is, by the way, if you guys remember from my New Year's show, investing in yourself is the goal for 2020. So that's my story for today. I hope it was somewhat encouraging to you guys. I deal with anxiety just like everyone else. I have expectations. I have things that I expect to be met or expect to be done, and then they don't happen. And then I could either go into turmoil, I could go into suffering and making myself suffer about the woulda, shoulda, coulda, he shoulda, she shoulda, they didn't. Who knows? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. Don't inject, and this will be the last thing I say to you guys today, don't inject narratives where they don't need to be. Don't inject narratives where they don't need to be. Stoicism is about looking at the whole event objectively. It happened. So what? Move on. Let me know your comments in the comment section below, or reply on our daily newsletter. Let me know how you're doing and how you deal with anxiety, or say something. Reply, whatever. It's all good. Subscribe. You guys know I just enjoy being part of your day. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Don't be anxious, guys.